All right, what is going on, Banter fam? Welcome into the Thursday edition of In the Game. I am your host, Hustle, and as always, we will be diving deep into the crypto gaming markets and more so crypto gaming development today, as I'm going to dive deep into some of the biggest games currently, but more so, we're going to set the tone for what games are going to be the first movers to bring more Web 2 gamers and bridge them to the Web 3 world. Because currently, Web 3 gaming is flourishing for the economies that have tons of players, the Pegaxys, the Axie Infinities, the Crabada, etc., that are really flourishing and have these active economies really going for them, right? But there has to be some sort of bridge to get the people who are just having fun playing games, nostalgic games like Call of Duty and Valorant, to bring them to the world of Web3. Because right now, earnings doesn't mean everything to those players. So, how do we get more adoption into the Web3 gaming space? Well, we're going to talk about some of the games that I do believe can bring much more adoption from those gamers to the Web3 space with actually legit AAA games. So let's go ahead and get into it in this episode. Without further ado, let's get in the game.
T-minus 15 seconds. Guidance is internal. 12, 11, 10, 9. Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
If you ain't here to hustle, why is you here? But if you here to hustle, the moon is near. It's Crypto Banter, not financial advice. If you don't listen, what's the cost, what's the price? This ain't a game, put you on game. I know you don't play, but ain't a percent. If you ain't here to hustle, why is you here? But if you here to hustle, the moon is near. It's Crypto Banter, not financial advice. If you don't listen, what's the cost, what's the price? This ain't a game, put you on game. I know you don't play, but ain't a play. If you get lost, show you the way.
All right, let's kick it off and let's get into some of the news today and some news heavy days this week. Most of the shows today have actually been, or most of the shows this week on In the Game have been news driven, specifically because there has been so much development in the space with this Avalanche fund, the subnets popping up for these different games with DeFi Kingdoms and Crabada. So it's been very busy within the gaming space with all the different news. So let's dive into a little bit lighter news today across the Metaverse, crypto gaming, and all that good stuff. And then we'll dive into the future of crypto gaming and some of the games right now that still have future developments to come to push those economies forward. So as we see here, breaking news just about a couple hours ago that Thailand's multi-billion-dollar SCB, one of their biggest banks, becomes the world's second major bank to enter the Metaverse, and they will be entering the sandbox. As you see here, Thailand's SCB launches virtual HQ in the Sandbox Metaverse. It will use their HQ to showcase its product demonstrations and engage designers as well as community creators. So this is pretty awesome to see. And if you remember, the first major bank got involved just a couple of weeks back. And as you see, the investment arm of Thailand's fourth largest bank by total assets has set up shop within the Metaverse built by Animoca brand subsidiary, the Sandbox. Yet again, widespread institutional adoption come into the space. When you're seeing like banks getting involved, right, you're going to eventually see other institutional type of like investments coming across the space from banks, and you're going to see other corporations, these hedge funds, really get involved, and they're probably already involved, right? And when you look at the space and you look at the Decentraland and the Sandbox land sales, a lot of the anonymous wallets that purchase those, they're already companies just scooping up land for HQs in the Metaverse. We just don't know it yet, right? So a lot of these like anonymous wallets that scoop up these big sales, some of the time they don't disclose who they are. You know that those are institutions and you know that those are companies. So good to see mass institutional adoption here as Thailand's fourth largest bank by assets is getting involved in the Sandbox Metaverse. And we see Australian Senator Andrew Bragg saying that NFTs are not a one-trick pony, as many people just call them JPEGs, and they will have a multiple applications that we are only just figuring out. And what do we tell you here every single day on the show? That's the case. We put horse NFTs to races every single day. We send crab NFTs out for mines. The Neo Tokyos of the world with the network that they provide, the NFTs, all the different driven passive income utilities, staking, all the things that NFT projects can bring to the table, the play to earn games that some have in the future. So there's a lot of different aspects that different NFTs can bring to the mainstream and businesses, real world application. And that's what he's talking about when he says there's multiple applications that we are just figuring out. There will be a time when, I say this all the time, but your home will eventually be an NFT verifiable on the blockchain, like your deed to your home. Your title to your car will be verifiable on the blockchain. So no more pulling up in a rental, and people could actually ask you, like, do you own the car? And you could like ask them to, like, show your title to your car, for an example. So that is just one example, or for home ownership, etc. I think that is where it will move. There should be no reason that you have to go search for your home deed or your car title to prove that you own it. It should be right there on the blockchain, verifiable in an instant on your wallet, right here on your smartphone. Like, and that's where the future is going to go, guys. Like, by the time 2025, 2030 gets here, watch what NFT technology does for the world. And I promise you, it will be really society wide. I can promise you, it will be integrated in so many legs of society, NFT technology. Now let's get into some game development news. And let's start with some games that are currently existing, currently playable with active economies. And then we're going to carve out the games, some of the projects with big developments and big news that are going to carve out the future of the space. So as we see here, Pegaxy, on top of the Apollo platform, where you can overview your horses, you can see each horse's energy, the breed, you can go ahead and manage your earnings. You can see how much you're tracking per day on your VIS count, which is integrated by Pegaxy themselves. They're also coming out with Themis, which is going to be their DAO, their voting system for PGX holders to be able to vote on economy changes. On top of that, they have the verified guild website coming soon. So if you own a Pegaxy guild, you only need 50 horses if you want to qualify for a guild, technically, but you do need scholars, actual scholars you're in contact with, not just random rentals. That's one of the requirements, right? So verified guild, 50 horses or more with active scholars. And the website to manage your guilds is coming soon. So they just keep building, and they keep bringing these different analytical tools for their owners and their players to use to really dive deep and get the best ROI and best utilization out of their horses. So I love that. And I love what Corey here. Corey is one of the pivotal members of the team for Pegaxy. And if you haven't heard Corey's story, it's actually tremendous on how he got started on Pegaxy. But Pegaxy has barely begun. The minds in this team are outrageous. We come to build, and that's what we'll do. And he's teasing the stadium sales here, guys. So you won't just be buying some generic stadium. This is super cool, in my opinion. So we have this looks like something I would have seen in science class right here. It's like a nebulous type of, I don't even know what, it's like something I would see on the Jimmy Neutron show when I was a kid, right? So the racetrack is right here, as you see. This one's going around like a tree ecosystem. This one's around like what looks like a roulette wheel almost. And this one has like a cool environment as well. So the environments around these stadiums look really cool. So I'm excited to see what they're building. And the burn rate for the last period, every 2 weeks, you want to keep track of the burn rate to keep track of the health of the economy. Once this big mint day gets out of the picture, the 2-week mint to burn rate is going to be much, much healthier. And we're still sitting at an 81% burn rate. If you're new, if you don't participate in the economy, that means 80% of every bit printed into the economy is being burned, which is good. So all the earnings being printed into the economy, it's not just complete, it's not just complete inflation because of the burning mechanism. So 81% of the printed supply is still being burned from this last 15-day period. So when this day drops off, we're going to see a much healthier ratio there as well. So I love what Pegaxy is doing, and I don't think that they're slowing down. So once again, if you're involved in that economy, keep the stables going, keep the horses racing. I do believe it will keep paying massive dividends long term. And as well, CyBall. We've been getting involved in the CyBall economy. We have our CyBlocks leveling up, ready to go for the breeding event next week. And like I said, we might breed some characters here live on the show just to show you how those play to earn mechanics work. Some people don't even participate, right? Some people have never mentored or bred in an economy. So maybe next week we'll be able to breed a couple characters here. and kind of show you how that process works. But CyBall partnering up with an international gaming guild here in Japan Gaming Guild, coming onto the CyBall field, which I absolutely love. Every day almost, you're seeing more scholars and more guilds pivoting to CyBall. And no coincidence that Luis from Yield Guild Games here tweets, at the current rates, CyBall players are earning 150 pesos per win, or 45,000 pesos per month, with a 50% win race. He says, here we go again. So I've been hollering that CyBall is something you should definitely keep your eyes on. And I tell you, there's a reason. Look at the name, Yield Guild Games. The first word in their name is yield. They are here to make returns, right? So these, when you are following games and you want to look where you want to potentially start up scholarships and potentially get assets building up for you to passively earn, you want to kind of look at the guild's activity. I said yesterday, follow the guild money. And this just points out even more that the guild money is looking at CyBall. And then let's move over to a game that I think is actually about to get some scholarship adoption. We've mentioned this theory in the past, but someone put it in a really good thread we're going to cover here really quickly. But some stats on Crabada. So once again, just like the VIS token, the TUS token has taken a little bit of a fall in the last couple of weeks, but the economy is still churning and is still completely as active as it was. There were almost 300,000 mining expeditions and looting missions for the last week. So the economy is still as healthy as ever. Almost 100 million TUS earned and 1 million Crabada earned. So awesome to see. And honestly, it's going to keep growing. They just announced the subnet, where the TUS token is the gas token for the economy. That is bullish for the utility token for Crabada. So whenever the swimmer net does come out, it's a subnet of Avalanche for Crabada. The TUS token, so the in-game earnings token, the utility token, will actually be used as the gas fee on the network for the game. So with all these transactions on chain monthly, you can only imagine what that could potentially do for the TUS token long term. And then there is a storm brewing for Play Crabada, as ACAP says here on Twitter on a nice thread. And I thought this was really well said. And I've kind of lightly hinted that when the battle game comes around, you're going to see a rental system implemented here. You're going to see a rental system implemented here, right? So a thread on how the demand is going to very quickly outpace the supply and how today's breeders are outrunning the masses. And as we see, they have 5K daily actives, and within a month, the battle game is going to come out. And basically, we saw what scholarships and we saw what the subnet of Ronin did for Axie Infinity. And those kind of coincided right alongside the subsequent run for Axie Infinity, right? And as he's saying, the supply eventually, when scholars start potentially moving into this economy, because the battle game is set up just like Axie Infinity, by the way. It's basically identical. It's a 3v3 turn-based battle game. If you compare this to Axie Infinity, it is nearly identical. And I will promise you that the rewards that the Crabada battle game will pay out is going to outlast what Axie Infinity is doing, right? So I do think that scholars will start to lean towards the Crabada economy once this does go live. And the battle game is set to come out next month. Currently, there are only 50,000 crabs or only 16,000 full teams. So now with scholars coming into the economy, there could definitely be a supply shock as more demand comes in the economy. So definitely something to look out for in the future and to keep your eyes on. When the swimmer net goes live, I expect this economy to really tick up. And then we see some good activity from the Thetan arena ecosystem here, as Binance Smart Chain is putting on a $10,000 Thetan arena tournament. And this is the one spot where I think Thetan arena could revive themselves, because they're the one MOBA, very compatible. It's on iOS. It's player versus player. It's skill based. This is the one game right now that you could actually appeal with a 4v4 esports game, literally. And as you see, they are hosting a $10,000 BNB Chain Africa Thetan Arena tournament. And in my opinion, esports is such a void in the space. There needs to be more competition. There needs to be more tournament platforms offering not only play to earn, but tournament platforms like even entry fees. Not only like there will be tournaments with entry fees, platforms where you can just enter tournaments day to day to compete if you feel up to the task. And back in the day, if you played Call of Duty, there was a website called Game Battles that was very popular. You could just play player versus player matches with your team versus other teams and keep a record of your team, keep standings. There's other matches or other sites out there for Web 2 gaming where you can wager on your games, for example. So this is a big market that I think Thetan Arena needs to capitalize, but their team just seems to be so behind the curve because they came from Web 2. So once again, let's hope that they take that and run with it and hopefully bring more competitive and competition to their game. Is Pegaxy dead? Are you serious? Rewind 5 minutes. Come on. I literally just talk about it every day. That's foolish. Absolutely foolish. And then let's move into the future of the space. So these are the games, in my opinion, and I can't cover them all. So please, after the show, don't tweet at me, hey, I loved your list, but this game or that game. Trust me, there's so many projects. I'd be on here for 5 hours talking about every game, right? But let's talk about the AAA looking and AAA teams, AAA style games that are actually going to potentially bring more players who are looking to game and looking to actually have fun, right? So a lot of people are excited to play Mobland. Mobland looks like the mix of Mobland basically looks like Grand Theft Auto mixed with Saints Row, right? And this is appealing for me. I've spent a lot of time whenever I was a kid and whenever I was in high school and in college, me and my friends, when we were living together as roommates in college, we definitely had an Xbox in the living room that we all four would just play Grand Theft Auto on, built up a character, got all the cars, the penthouse, all that stuff. So, if you're doing that and you're not making money, you can only imagine if people are having fun in Mobland. And as you see here, you can expand your empires across the globe, New York, Tokyo, LA, stuff like that. You can basically build businesses, different types of on your land, like warehouses, and you can open up, I love what Roy termed it. We did an AMA with the co-founder, Roy Liu. As he said, the vegetation businesses, all the businesses that you could associate with crime. That's what you will be getting involved with in the Mobland economy. So it's going to be very, very fun. And I can't wait for this. They actually just sold out their Bybit collection this morning. It was a mystery box. So continuing the great activity and traction. And then their NFT blueprints from the Binance NFT sale actually reveal next week. So I'm excited for this. Because I do own some Binance blueprints. And on the 21st, we'll be able to reveal our blueprints. And those will be characters, basically. From what we have heard and what we have been told, the Binance blueprint reveals will be basically character skins. So we will see what we get. It is ranked all-time #1 on Binance NFT. The Mobland marketplace will launch prior to reveal, and the NFTs will be stakeable and farmable soon. The reveal is on March 21st, and the collection's here on Binance NFT. So Sin City Limited Blueprint. And as they said, it is the #1 traded NFT collection ever on Binance. On top of that, guys, I mentioned this when it was 1100% APR or APY, and it's still up to 600% APY. If you are holding the center token, which by the way has been impressively holding at about 6-7 cents basically during every market dip since it launched, because it launched like basically the weekend of the Bitcoin dip in January that we just had, the really steep dip into the 30,000s for the first time in a while. But 600% APY here. If you're holding the center token, there's no reason why you shouldn't go ahead and stake it for 600% returns potentially. And you can lock it up for variable APY if you want to. So that's up to you. But it's an opportunity that if you're just holding on to these tokens, you have to look at every opportunity to make passive income. And this is definitely where I would look for the center token. And let's move over to Champions Ascension, the battle RPG game by Jam City Studios. And Jam City Studios, they have a lot of experience in quality IP. Jam City, as you could look up, they have or not old, but games that they've worked on in the past with IP from projects like Harry Potter, and IP is intellectual property. So the rights of like Harry Potter games, for example. And as we see here, an early gameplay concept. So the opposing character isn't fighting back. You can tell that the user display isn't super polished yet, but this is an early glimpse of an attack here from this character, from this champion, and the graphics look sweet. I'm gonna be honest. This looks like a game once again that players are going to be excited to play. Like it's not a turn-based game. Like it's in combat. It's skill-based. Like, and hopefully, as we'll see, the different characters have different abilities. We'll see which characters end up being the quote unquote meta, right? But it's a skill-based game at the end of the day. So I'm really looking forward to Champions Ascension, because the team, if you don't know too, is some of the ex-execs from MySpace. So they're founders. So as I mentioned, they've made games like mobile games for like Harry Potter in the past. And Chris DeWolf, the co-founder and CEO of Jam City, was the former MySpace CEO and co-founder, along with Aber Whitcomb. He is the former CTO and co-founder of MySpace. So Champions Ascension is another one of those games that I think is going to have, some Web 2 gamers potentially catch their eye, right? This RPG battle game where you can actually make some money. This trend is going to really catch on, because this right here, it's starting to catch, you don't have to pitch play to earn. If they catch their eyes on this type of game, and then they're going to hear that I can make money in a game like this, right? That's when things are going to change. So when they actually see fun games like Mobland, Champions Ascension, as we'll talk about later, like BigTime, Mavia, all those games, right? Those are the types of games that people might actually be like, hang on, I played Clash of Clans my whole life. Now Mavia is coming out, for example. I can go make money in that game. Are you serious? And that's when the gamers are going to come switch over. So with this battle RPG like Champions Ascension, it's just another one of those AAA style moving towards where games are going to be on the blockchain, right? We're so early stage that these projects are really setting the standard. So I'm excited for Champions Ascension. Another project, I talked about this one a while back, but there's just been no news. MetalCore, the mech action game, which I'm super excited about. And it's a mechanized combat game, mechanized basically with these mech characters right here. If you don't know what mech means, MECH. But Studio 369 nets 15 million in private token and NFT sale for MetalCore. And MetalCore, guys, they got backing here from some pretty big backers: Bitcraft Ventures, Delphi Digital, Immutable X, Animoca Brands, Spartan Capital, as well as YGG and Merit Circle. So a lot of top tier backers coming in to back MetalCore. And I think that this is something that you should definitely keep your eye on, because the team here, and this is legit experience, and you can look up some of the guys that they've appeared at conferences, fully doxed, all that good stuff. You can look up their LinkedIns. MetalCore's dev team has had experience at Activision, Disney, Lucasfilms, worked on games and franchises such as Mortal Kombat, Gears of War, Fallout, Elder Scrolls, God of War. So the tenure behind the MetalCore team, really, really solid. And this was the initial teaser they dropped at the beginning of November. And this was super, super early concept, early conceptuals. But man, I'm excited for games like this to come around the corner and actually be playable, be here from teams from the likes of Activision and Lucasfilms, right? Like, this just looks brilliant. Like, you want to talk about AAA games? This is it, right? So MetalCore is another one of those games that I think setting the tone, setting the standard for the future of NFT games to bridge, get the gamers to come from the Steams and the Epic Games of the world to be like, hang on a second, I'm going to come make money in these fun mechanized combat games like MetalCore, for example. And then let's go to the narrative that we literally spoke about yesterday. And here's some big alpha too, because this project is pretty early stage. They only have a few thousand followers on Twitter. And Shrapnel is the project name. So Shrapnel is going to be the world's first moddable AAA first-person shooter, and is building a new gaming experience on none other than Avalanche, the blockchain that I said yesterday was going to be completely that was completely underutilized for GameFi that will be developed on heavily moving forward. And we see here Shrapnel to build the first AAA game on Avalanche. And I think that this is something to definitely pay attention to. Shrapnel is the world's first blockchain-enabled moddable first-person shooter. It's designed to empower players and creators. So let's think of Halo 3, right? We'll come back to this and I'll finish reading off the team's experience. So just to give you what moddable means. So let's just say Halo 3 Forge mode, right? Where you can craft your own maps. You can take an existing map and you can move things around. You can structurally construct literally any dynamic of the map that you want, right? Well, Shrapnel is that, right? Creators can come into the Shrapnel economy and literally cultivate their experience, cultivate their maps. Think of Halo 3 Forge, but modern, right? So experience a rich world. And funny enough, our team worked on none other than Westworld, Halo, Star Wars. So very tenured team as well. Very solid backers, 3 Arrow Capital, Defiance Capital, Overwolf, Spartan, Merit Circle. So they're getting attention from some of the biggest backers. And the graphics on this are absolutely insane, guys. Like the conceptual arts that they've put out look amazing. This is going to be on Avalanche. So the team spun out from HBO Interactive. The Acclaim team have past successes with Xbox, EA, HBO, Lucasfilms, Irrational, and Zombie Entertainment, and are also working with some of the cultivating minds behind the original term of the Metaverse. So very, very big developments here coming from Shrapnel. And I think it speaks volumes that Avalanche is the one endorsing this, right? This is not some game coming out of nowhere saying, hey, we're building the AAA first-person shooter. No, they have the credentials and they have everything coming in the future to build out this game. The conceptual art looks amazing. Avalanche is fully behind it. And as you see, it will have its own subnet. So once again, like Crabada's SwimmerNet, like the DFK chain for Jewel, for DeFi Kingdoms. Shrapnel will also have a subnet. So this is super bullish for the future of Avalanche gaming, for the future of AAA games. Like first-person shooters are the type of games where I'll actually spend a couple hours a day. Like, okay, call the boys, let's play. Like it's the days of Call of Duty, like it's the days of Warzone, all that good stuff, right? It's nostalgia. I want to hop in a first-person shooter and play. Right? That's not a game where I'm going to be renting all my assets. I might actually hop into Shrapnel and try to get some headshots, right? So definitely take a look at this project. One to put on your watch list, and it goes right along with the Avalanche narrative that I've been preaching for GameFi. Ascender's open world RPG coming to Avalanche, another game that will be one of those first movers that's really an interactive game, an open world game where you can actually play, develop things, build up your stash in the game, build up your arsenal, your inventory, etc. in this open world economy that is Ascenders. But as you see here, GuildFi today announces a partnership with none other than Ascenders. We're thrilled to announce partnership with Fantasy open world action RPG Ascenders, and we are excited to continue to witness the development of this gripping and unique game. And this team right here is doing AMAs literally like every day. I've been seeing them all over Twitter, all over my feed. They're active. These guilds are promoting. These guilds are getting involved. Another one on the Avalanche chain that could really set the tone and set the narrative and bring more development onto Avalanche. And these two games in particular, Shrapnel and Ascenders, could be the two first big games as far as true close to AAA style, right? That are going to actually push the tone of widespread adoption, getting more players to actually come play these games because it's actually a good time. Because as great as blockchain games have been to us so far, the economies are flourishing at times, right? If you get in at the right times, if you pick the right games, you can definitely make solid returns. And technically what you would term it as solid APY, solid interest, basically, ROI on your investment on some of these play to earn games. But in the future, we need to bridge that gap. And these are the types of games that will do that. So good to see 2 AAA developments coming onto Avalanche. And not only that, but the teams building DeFi and gaming on Avalanche have pretty top tier experience, not to mention, as you see here from Ed Shang formerly at EA, TCG, and Streamlabs. So not only has he been at EA with some game development, but at Streamlabs, he's seen the streaming side of things too. So he could potentially bring tons of value and tons of knowledge to the GameFi ecosystem that's going to be on Avalanche. One of the final things we'll cover in today's show, an NFT project that I absolutely love. Film experience behind this team is amazing. With John Park, who did the transports behind Netvrk. And this is actually in collaboration with Netvrk. And I might need to refresh this page really quick. Oh, that's why. So let me actually pull this back up because it looks like they reposted it. But the AAA Metaverse game, so the Angry Ape Army Metaverse game, they released their trailer for their Battle Royale, and we'll let it play here. This looks incredible. This will be in the world of Netvrk, and the team behind AAA, their film experience, right? I mean, Mandalorian, Predator, there's so many different projects, Planet of the Apes that they have worked on in the past. This looks insane. I can't wait to hop in here because not only do I love Angry Ape Army, but I love Netvrk. And Netvrk is one of those metaverses that I actually think has the potential to grasp the future of metaverses because of the angle that they're taking. And this is building within Netvrk, this game. And I mean, this looks awesome. It really does. And this is super early conceptuals. So don't take anything, anything you see that's visually out of place or visually unappealing to you, if anything. It's because it's this is very, very early stages. But as you see here, he grabs the grenade and the AK, which look awesome as well. Pulls up on this ape, takes him down. Takes down those apes. Throws a grenade. So this looks awesome. I cannot wait to hop into the AAA and the Netvrk Battle Royale experience. And Battle Royales are one of the biggest genres in the world, guys. One of the most exhilarating and addicting genres in the world. You want to talk about getting your adrenaline up, right? It's whenever it's 1v1 at the end, winner take all, right? You've been playing since 50 people or 100 people in the lobby. So 100 players and the last man wins, right? It gets very, very crucial at the end of the game. These types of games really cultivate you and hook you in, right? Because if you lose, you're like, oh, let's try again because we want to win. But if you win, you only want to run it back. So these type of games have gameplay loops that are very, very addictive. So look for battle royales to come out in the next few years that definitely cultivate that genre, because there's an absence of battle royales right now. We just don't have that in the space. And that's just some of the biggest games in the world. But you look across, PUBG, Warzone, Fortnite, etc. And then we'll end it off there. But you already we've talked about so many games in the past here that I think are going to set the tone across the space. BigTime, I think, is one of the most absolutely bullish games. Their team with Ari from Decentraland, the development capability that they have on their staff, as well as everything that they've been previewing. I love BigTime. I love Phantom Galaxies, Mavia, Illuvium, Star Atlas, Ember Sword. There's so many AAA level developments and games that I do think are going to push us so much closer to the adoption that we need in the Web3 gaming space to get the NFT fear out of the traditional gamer's head, right? Because so many people in the gaming space just think NFTs are bad for the games. They have no idea what the technology can do for the ownership of your assets if you're buying Fortnite skins, right? They have no clue what true ownership can really do. And I read an interesting thread from someone who said that they left their job. They recently left their position at a top studio in gaming to join Gods Unchained because they see firsthand the extraction behind the scenes that the studios take place in to take money from their players, right? Free to play is not free to play because they're taking way more money from you long term most of the time than you're paying for a video game, right? So I think that that's something to keep in mind. And then last note here, there are big development studios getting involved in the future. This is this is very preliminary. This is just some some teaser notes. But Tom Henderson is one of the best gaming freelance writers in the world, 150,000 followers. I would definitely recommend, checking out his Twitter if you are very interested in gaming. Tom Henderson is an amazing news. I would honestly say like one of the best news sources in gaming for development. The world's first AAA free-to-play NFT FPS is scheduled for release in 2023. It's a competitive SPS, kind of comparable to Escape from Tarkov, which is an extraction game. And then at its core, the goal is to join a map, loot weapons, and extract successfully. Items that you can extract can be sold in the game's marketplace. Devs on the project have worked on the likes of Halo, The Division, and Call of Duty, and it is advised by top FPS influencers. So these are the games that are really going to cultivate the space moving forward. And I think that these are the ones you should definitely have on your list for the future of gaming. And as far as now, right? I mean, you can take part in these games like CyBall, Pegaxy, Crabada, and you can start building up in these economies. And I promise you, once you have one economy working for you, you get another economy working for you. These other games start coming out in the future. You're going to have seeds planted in all roots of crypto gaming, not only in tokens. Like, I'm not here every day to talk about tokens, right? We're in a weird market, guys. We are in a market where if you are actively investing in tokens right now, and it's anything else but a dollar cost average, I don't know. It's a very weird market right now. No one knows what's going on. And there's a lot of fear in the market. And obviously the saying, when there's fear, you buy the blood, basically. But I would just, we're definitely hammering in on the narratives and the economies on these play to earn, because we're making money in play to earn while these market conditions are playing out, while these economic conditions are playing out. And when the market goes back up, I promise you, our portfolios and our crypto gaming holdings as far as tokens, and whenever that wave comes, whenever the Apples and the Amazons get involved in the space, we will be very well positioned and we'll be ready for that wave. Be sure to like the video if you enjoyed the show, and if you are bullish on crypto gaming just like I am, subscribe to the channel for more daily content. I will be back for the Friday show. I'll have a special guest on tomorrow, and we'll get some juicy details about some events in an upcoming game. So I'll be back tomorrow. I will see y'all tomorrow. HP, are you saying goodbye today? What a troll. All right. I love that note, though. All right, guys. Trade well. Play well, my friends. I'll see y'all tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.